Hi, my name is Jay Sugarman, and I want to welcome you to Museum Open House. This ongoing series features and highlights many of the outstanding museums and other cultural institutions. The main purpose of most programs is to inform viewers about current and upcoming exhibits, various programs, resources, and other opportunities that are available for the general public. Today via Zoom, we're fortunate to have as our guest Mike Hennessey. Mike serves as the manager of learning and programs at the Pittsburgh-based Moonshot Museum, hands-on interactive experience where you can see a real spacecraft being assembled. During the program, we're finding out why and how the museum came about. We'll go on a behind-the-scenes tour and in the process come to better understand and appreciate many of the exciting facets of the 21st century space industry. Let's start by meeting Mike and then hearing all about the Moonshot Museum. Welcome, Mike. So delighted you're able to be here.
Thank you, Jay. It's a real privilege to be on your show.
It was fascinating to first hear about the museum. Eager to hear much more about it and have you inform viewers. But before we jump right to that, I also think it would be of interest if you'd briefly share maybe a little bit more about your background, professional interest, what attracted you to the museum, and what your current position entails, please.
I'm the manager of learning and programs at Moonshot Museum, which means I have the most fun job in the world. So here at the museum, we have an interactive moon base of tomorrow, projecting out to about 50 years into the future based on today's science, and the role in space that we'll have in the decades to come and the careers that kids today can aspire to. And as you can see behind me, we share a wall of windows with a real working clean room, and we can see actual spacecraft under construction. For me, this is a dream come true because I have the opportunity with my team to inspire and shape the next generation of space explorers, of astronauts certainly, but also the builders and the makers who create the robots. We're going to need everyone to go to space. Scientists, artists, writers, gardeners, no matter what a student's talents are. It's exciting to be able to help connect the dots for them to see how space will play a role in their future, whether they have a job in the space industry or even if they just grow up to become a citizen who has a lifelong love of the sky like I do. I love space, always have. My background academically was in history, and before I came to Moonshot Museum, my career was I directed a planetarium, I designed traveling museum outreach programs, and for me, this is an exciting synthesis of the science of exploration, but also the civics of space policy. How do we create a good society when we go to the moon? And bringing all of those different things together as we take this next step into the new frontier.
Wonderful. Well, you definitely seem like the perfect person for the role you have now, given your background, enthusiasm, and vision for what the possibilities are. So, speaking of vision, why and how did the museum come about in the first place?
Here in Pittsburgh, we have a space technology company called Astrobotic, and their vision is to make space accessible to the world. We're on the cusp of a new golden age of space exploration, where private companies are going to be playing a far more leading role. Public-private partnerships that will drive down the cost of space flight, where we'll see missions that are taking science, technology demonstrations, commercial payloads to the moon and beyond. Astrobotic decided they really wanted to have a window to the world into the nuts and bolts of creating a spacecraft and into the jobs that are available in the space industry. And that's where the concept for Moonshot Museum was born. So we're a separate nonprofit museum, but we share a wall of windows with Astrobotic, that working space tech company. So we have that literal window into their work every day. We also have the benefit of astrobots, as they call their volunteers,
Hmm.
who join us and volunteer their time to talk to students, to talk about their own career path and some of the twists and turns that it might take, and give them, I think, inspiration, also direction for how they can find a path forward in the space industry.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, for those of us who haven't had the chance to visit yet, would you please give us an overview of what we can look forward to before we look at some wonderful images?
So here at Moonshot Museum, I like to say that you're in store for a field trip to the future, a future that's under construction right now. We have an interactive, immersive moon base. And in that moon base, you can map the moon, explore the past, present, and future of space exploration. You can create your own art and project it on the moon. You can sit down and be part of a cosmic city council and debate current issues in space policy. That one's a lot of fun.
Nice.
Sometimes it's hard to tear people away from that. um, we have a scavenger hunt where you can learn about space careers, everything from medicine to law. And you can design your own rover and learn about the tools and sensors that robots will be using in the years to come on the lunar surface.
Terrific, terrific. Well, we're eager to look at some images shortly, but before we do that, looking at the image we have here, logo, I know a lot of thought was given to the design. Could you please point out a couple of the features and the thinking behind what we see?
Sure. So when we were designing Moonshot Museum, we wanted to create a mission patch. Every great mission to space tells a story through art, and often the crew is directly involved in creating that art. So we wanted to have a chance to do that. So as you look at our mission patch, you're looking at a constellation that we created of stars to suggest three rivers. Here in Pittsburgh, we have the three rivers. We have the Allegheny and Monongahela rivers, which come together, and at our confluence, they form the mighty Ohio River. And if you were to look at Pittsburgh from space, it would look much like the configuration of stars that you see on this image, where we have these three rivers coming together into Earth, into our ocean planet. Space is for everybody, and we wanted to show that on the moon. You see 8 craters there, which symbolize the 8 billion people on planet Earth. And that was really important for us as a museum. As we look to exploring the moon, a lot of our curriculum is also about how does going to space help life on Earth, whether it's in medicine, whether it's in environmental research, and that idea that we can all benefit from space exploration.
Terrific.
We are we're very proud in Pittsburgh, so we put some black and gold, which is our sports team colors. You see that on our lander. The sort of curved star shapes that you see on our logo, those are called hypocycloids. You see those in the symbol for steel. And Pittsburgh, often known as a steel city, we're about to become a space city. So we thought those were perfect symbols, both for looking back at our heritage, but also where we hope to go.
Terrific,
And our
terrific.
logo is "Find your space in place." That's our slogan.
Ah, nice, nice. Well, since we're Patriots fans here, we're very familiar with the black and gold for sure, for sure. Well, let's move on. Terrific images you're able to provide us with. As I bring them up, please share some of the things we're seeing and opportunities.
Sure. And again, thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate the chance to share our gallery with your visitors, and hope that some of them can come see it in person someday. What
Sure.
you're seeing is the main gallery for Moonshot Museum. Over on the left, you can see that wall of windows that looks into that separate company, Astrobotic. You can see a lander under construction, which I'll talk about in a little bit. You can also see some small rovers on display. Some are interactive games where you design rovers to work on the moon. In the center of the image is a rover under glass that may actually be on the moon someday, carrying a drill looking for ice or a solar panel around for a future astronaut. You can also see off on the right into our future on the moon. That's an actual crater at the South Pole where a lot of our scientific efforts are directed. And our central rocket, that's a ULA Vulcan Centaur. It's a rocket that will carry our first lander to space in early 2024.
Fabulous to have that on display and to be able to see so up close. Here's a nice shot of the clean room.
Yeah, so right through the windows, you can see a lunar lander under construction. This will be the largest lunar lander in history to date. It's called Griffin, and you can see the central thruster for landing there. When it's completed, Griffin will deliver a 1-ton NASA robot to land at the moon's south pole. And that robot will find ice and essentially pick the parking spot for future astronauts. So we're going back to the moon, and in the next few years, we'll see the first woman, the first person of color setting foot on the lunar surface. We need a parking spot that has access to sunlight, access to ice for drinking water, for fuel. And so we're sending robots to really help pave the way for humans to go back. And if anyone's ever driven in Pittsburgh, it's also fitting that Pittsburgh's sending up a robot to scout out some parking. So
Very funny. And this again is the bonus featured. See scientists, engineers constructing real world landers, rovers that are going to shape our future.
absolutely. Yeah, this is an engineer in the clean room. They're suited up with bunny suits and hairnets and masks and gloves to make sure there's no dust or debris that could affect a camera, affect the electrical circuits or scientific instruments. And behind our engineer, you can see Peregrine. It's named for the peregrine falcon, fastest animal on Earth. So that's going to be touching down on the moon in early 2024, carrying 20 payloads from around the world. And there are 6 awesome NASA science experiments. Here's a better view of Peregrine. Front and center, you can see kind of a white square piece with some bottle cap wheels underneath. That was designed by college students. It'll be the first remote control rover on the moon from Carnegie Mellon University. It's carrying up nanobots from Mexico, a piece of Mount Everest from Nepal. Yeah, just this amazing, I think, array of science and art and commemorative items from literally all around the world.
That's terrific. That's terrific. And those are the type of opportunities that you make available for visitors of all ages to experience on a visit to the museum. And we'll start hearing about some of those opportunities. This shot, as we continue our tour, what are we picking up here?
Yeah, so this is our lunar living room, where we talk about how construction will happen on the moon, how we'll live off of the land from lunar soil or regolith and 3D print homes on the moon. It's also the site of our space debates. So you can have a seat in the living room and kind of debate the finer points of space policy. And it's not science fiction anymore. It's reality.
Nice, nice. And these next few give another insight into some of the interactive possibilities.
So this is our mapping station where you can see both what we've learned from the Apollo program and from orbiters orbiting the moon today, but also where we're going next. So where do we plan to land robots and humans in the years to come? And you can also explore the moon's rich geology here as well.
Nice, nice. You mentioned art as a part of the experience, designing a mission patch. A little bit more about this, please.
Yeah, I love this station here. We've curated some of our favorite mission patches and some of our favorite figures from around the world in both mythology and the history of space flight. It's just points of inspiration. But it's really a chance, I think, to draw, create, tell your story. When we do field trips, students actually work in teams. They pick adjectives to describe themselves, and then that helps direct how they might create their mission patch. And then the best part is you get to scan your art in, and it's projected onto a real mountain. That's an actual satellite view of the south pole of the moon. So your art is
Wow.
then part of the lunar landscape.
Nice, nice, nice. Continuing our tour, what do we get to experience here?
This is our cargo bay. So this is where you can engage in a scavenger hunt, learn about people working in the space industry today, find the clues by reading about them, see if you can match them to objects. And along the way, I think I really come to appreciate just how broad the industry is, that there's a role for the trades, that there's a role for the arts and humanities, as well as the sciences in exploring the moon today.
Another feature that caught my eye is Hope Moonshot, Message to the Moon. What is this possibility?
Yeah, so we wanted to make the connection literal, that you could actually write or draw a message of goodwill that we will scan and put on a future trip to the moon. There's already a collection of hopes that have been collected and are on board Peregrine that will be landing and will be there forever on the moon. And we're continuing to collect them for future missions. I think, it comes back to the idea that it is everyone's moon. It's something that we all look up to around the world. And hopefully by sending our hopes and the best of us to the moon, it increases that personal connection for folks to look at the moon in the night sky, to not only want to explore, but to be reminded of our kinship with each other on planet Earth.
Mhm, mhm. A good while ago, you mentioned field trips. Before we hear about some of the opportunities there, as well as other aspects of the curriculum, what's the guiding philosophy and approach to education that you and others have crafted for the museum?
Yeah, so at Moonshot Museum, we offer a STEAM-based approach to education, really driven by the idea that there are so many different careers in space that need a lot of different talents and interests, and we want to make sure that folks can explore all of that while they're here. So there's a chance to design a robot, to create art, to debate space policy, and in our curriculum, we take that one step further into digitally driven interactives that are also team building experiences. Um, and that we can craft a story. Maybe one time you'll come to the museum and you're a citizen on the moon in the future, solving challenges with your team. But you could come back in subsequent months or years and be solving a crime on the moon or creating a startup company to get to space. So we can use these same zones themed to science, technology, engineering, and arts and math, but use those zones in creative ways to tell new stories and keep adding to our library as we grow.
Nice, nice. Um, what are these group of students experiencing here in this setting?
Ah, so I love to be on stage. I am. I'm wearing that pumpkin suit there. Um, right now, we're doing one of our assemblies called Mission to the Moon that we take to schools to raise awareness, to inspire them about the moon. I can see right now we've been scanning the audience with an infrared camera. And they're all cheering, especially that one student there. It's just totally exuberant and cheering. We want them to see the moon through robot eyes, learn about the different instruments robots have, and why we send robots first to help scout, really refine what humans will do before we return to the moon.
Mm, mm. Fabulous, fabulous. What other ways do you reach out to the community with regard to what the museum is all about?
Yeah, so I'd say our headline experience is a field trip for schools to come and do an immersive team building mission. We love to go to schools as well, and that can be anything from a science on stage assembly with a lot of high octane experiments,
Mm.
for a science class, going to a social studies class and moderating a space debate, tabling. We have the best volunteers in the world, I think. I'm a little biased, but who are out in the community all the time, tabling, giving talks at libraries and community centers. And I think it's really a two-way street because as much as we head out into the community, we benefit so much from the community. We have an amazing core of volunteers and teen volunteers, without whom the museum simply wouldn't be, I think. And to me, they're our greatest attraction. They're our face of space, and that friendly point of contact, that's really, I think, inspires folks to get interested in space, whether they were when they came through the door or not.
Well, these high school students, it looks like, seem very engaged and having a great time. What are they doing?
Yes, so this was a ton of fun. We did a 3-hour workshop for some students in central Pennsylvania, last summer. And they are wearing 3D glasses, looking at some real satellite footage of the moon taken by NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. And those images are colorized by an artist. And then a lunar geologist, believe it or not, at first blush might put on those old school red and blue or red and cyan glasses, to get a sense of depth on the moon. If we're picking landing sites, we want that sense of three-dimensionality. So they are going through some actual satellite footage, trying to determine if there might be some safe landing sites for the robot in our interactive, and having a lot of fun, I think, along the way too.
That's for sure. And again, this image just highlights the range of ages that you work with and that is accessible at the museum.
Yeah, so this is a group we partnered with, Carnegie Mellon University, and with NASA to do an art to space program. And you can see a student there holding a model of a CubeSat, which would be about that size, these sort of nano satellites. And the students actually created art that will be etched, onto Kapton tape, onto this thermally insulating tape, and will be mounted to the exterior of something that actually flies to space,
Wow.
which is
Wow,
awesome.
for
Um,
sure.
so that was yeah, and this is again another one of my favorite photos. These are the Pittsburgh Steeler cheerleaders. We're we're located on Pittsburgh's north side. We're proud to be part of the Manchester neighborhood, and these are students, from the north side, who were here for our opening day. So we kicked everything
Ah,
off with them doing a special celebratory cheer for us.
nice, nice. And I know another exciting opportunity for people is the poster contest.
Mhm.
Could you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we had a statewide poster contest, for students to, basically encapsulate the spirit of the Griffin mission, uh, and tell that story through art. We held one last year for the Peregrine mission, saw some amazing entries from grades 3 through 12, and we'll be holding that again, next year, for students throughout Pennsylvania to share their art to tell the story of the Griffin lander that'll be going to the South Pole of the moon.
Since the museum opened last year, what's been some of the reaction and feedback?
Oh, I think there's a lot of surprise and a lot of pride. I
Mm.
think surprise at knowing how much is happening again, that we are really at the dawn of this new golden age in space. I think there's a lot of pride, especially for folks in the region, to know that these spacecraft are being built in their backyards.
Mhm.
And then that surprise of knowing that there are ways that they can get involved.
Nice, nice. What are some of the other current and maybe upcoming plans and programs that you and others at the museum have in mind?
Yeah, so we're thinking about a future catalog of missions and what that might look like. Um, Currently, when field trips take place, middle and high school students can come and be citizens on the moon 50 years in the future. And in addition to that, we're looking at doing a few other storylines to add to our library. We also have some exciting plans to scale up our outreach, to go out to schools that might just be too far away to come in and visit us,
Mm.
um, and travel out with some immersive astronomy visualization software and robotics experiments, to bring, I think, a taste of moonshot out to schools.
Mhm, mhm. When you yourself look back from when you first heard about the museum, got involved, to where it is now, what are some of your thoughts to where it is and where it's going to be going in the future?
If I think back just a few years ago, and someone had told me that behind the Wendy's on the north side next to the stadium, that there would be a space company and a new museum, and that we'd be building a lander, I'd be like, that sounds great, sure. uh, and now here we are, and I think back to other moments in my career as an educator where we were rightfully, I think, celebrating achievements of the past, looking to the Apollo era and all that was achieved then and the legacy we can build on. What's exciting now is to know that we are actively building on that. That in addition to looking back at that history, we're writing a new chapter in history now that can make opportunities, I think, for students today who will inherit all of the opportunities and the challenges of space, right? And we've got to prepare them to meet those challenges, the scientific and technical challenges of space, the policy challenges
Mm.
of how do we share all of these benefits of space exploration equitably. So for me, I think it's a healthy challenge, and it's exhilarating to be right here at the cusp of that and to help facilitate those conversations and just raise that awareness and that engagement.
Nice, nice. How can viewers and others find out more, stay informed about the museum and current and upcoming developments?
Yeah, so I'd say definitely check out our website, moonshotmuseum.org. In early January, on January 8th, currently we're targeting the Peregrine spacecraft will be headed to the moon.
Wow.
I'm going to be on NASA TV for that, so would invite folks to tune in and watch the launch. Maybe I'll see you then on TV. But definitely follow that journey. It will be then landing in February on the lunar surface.
Oh, how exciting.
It really is history in the making.
Oh, so the timing of having you here with us today couldn't be any more better arranged. This is fabulous.
Yeah, this is perfect.
Terrific, terrific. Well, Mike, unfortunately, we've come to the end of the program. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be here, for giving us a wonderful overview of the Moonshot Museum, the exciting things to come in the very soon future, especially. Look forward to following the upcoming mission and your role and participation as well. Continued success with future endeavors.
Thank you so much. And thanks for having me on, Jay. Really appreciate it.
Oh, our pleasure. Also want to thank those of you watching for joining us and hope you'll be able to tune in next time.